Hello, Billy here. I've just come home from being at a meeting that was meant to be from about 10 till 1 o'clock. And I've come home and I'll see what happens with this video, whether I actually post it or not. But I left because my energy was being absolutely frazzled. I was just struggling to sit in the room. Maybe, 10, 12 people in the room. And the whole thing for me was just too heady, too manic. It was like 100 miles per hour. There wasn't any time being given. As I say, in Heart Intelligence, we work with a pop-up. We work with what's moving. So we have an issue, something that's causing. Doesn't have to be psychological disturbance, but there's something moving. And because we have become a society that tend now to function, as I keep saying, completely from our head, rationally, cognitively, etc. Somebody came up with a good word for it a couple of weeks ago. It's not coming to me. I thought it was quite a good word for it. Cerebrally. And again, that just came up there, that cerebrally, which is exactly what I'm talking about. So that was maybe a good demonstration. When we slow down and kind of feel into space, then we get offered things differently from when this machine just runs at 100 miles per hour. And so I sat in the meeting for about the first hour, and it was a bit productive. There was a few things coming out of it. But there was also quite a few voices in the room that weren't getting a chance to be aired, to be voiced. And it may very well be that the people that were in the room didn't necessarily have anything to say. But I also know from experience that when the people that are sitting a bit more silent in the room do get invited to speak, and they may initially say, well, I don't really think I've really got much to say. They will probably then go on to say something which will be very kind of poignant, very worth hearing, etc. Because they're in a stiller place, they're not in their heads running at 100 miles per hour, simply replying back immediately from what was said by the last person that spoke. And the whole thing it's like a ping-pong game. I've never used that expression before, but that was what it was like. It was like for me, it was actually like being the ping-pong ball in a ping-pong game for an hour to sit in that room. And so when it came to break time, I got up and explained that I wasn't doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm not playing that game anymore. I've had enough. I've done it at 2 or 3 meetings recently where I'm not doing it. And I was actually at a meeting, I think it was yesterday, yesterday, in the afternoon, and it was a very productive meeting. And people sat and really listened to each other and felt each other, and were present to each other. And the whole energetic field was different and far more productive. That's a judgment. As I said, there was productive things coming out of the meeting today, but it was just chaos for me. That doesn't mean to say I'm right and the others were wrong. Maybe they can function at that speed, at that rate, and I probably did myself before. But like I say, who I am, my system, who I am now, just doesn't want to be that anymore. And I think part of that is because I've genuinely learned to see that it is far more productive to kind of slow down a bit and use all of who we are to respond from, to Let's not just respond, to even be present to the other. Because when we're fully present to the other, then the other will receive us differently and they'll behave differently. It's less manic, it's less rushed. There's time for something even more productive to happen in that kind of space, where people can come from a deeper depth in who they are. And so, having just arrived home, had a cup of tea, I can feel my energy is beginning to settle a wee bit. It's still there. I know it's probably not coming over in the video, but up here I'm just like this, you know. What do I want given that? Well, I don't know, but I guess I've found the need to do this video. I want to share that, I suppose. I want to... Perhaps, well, the one that actually popped up there was, I want to invite you. So this is the one that came up the way. I want to invite you to watch for the same thing. Maybe you can do better than me and stay in the room. I don't feel that it was that productive to get up and walk out. Yeah, I voted with my feet, I suppose. But I could have probably done something more productive than that. So I'm not necessarily saying that my behaviour was, served in the best way. But as I sit and say that, the fear that pops up. So in Heart Intelligence, we work with 4 pillars: the want and the fear. And the fear is not about a fear of getting what you want. The fear is if nothing changes. And so perhaps I got up and left because my fear would have been that I'd exploded. And I'd have been unproductive. I'd have been more destructive than productive. So it was probably wiser that I did get up and leave. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have been. Maybe I'm doing myself an injustice. Maybe I would have been composed enough to explode a wee bit and then reel myself in. So these 4 pillars that I keep talking about in Heart Intelligence, once you've got a sense of what's moving, the coach, the guide, facilitator, etc. will generally, or the way I do it anyway, is come into the space and say, well, so given all of that, what do you want? And once we get a feel for that actually touches us here, this thing here actually feels, yep, I definitely sense that's what you want. It's not just a heady, yeah, okay, I can see you want that. You'll feel this person has touched what they want. And then again, we look for the fear, if nothing changes. And so again, to come back to the teaching of Heart Intelligence, for me anyway, the first one, the want, is kind of inspired. It's what's pulling you towards something better, greater, more. Whereas the fear of change not happening is, for me, is more of it's like the boiler room. It's a motivator. It's pushing from the bottom up because something's going to be worse if the change doesn't happen. So we get these 2 drivers. So we've got a sense of what's moving, then we get the 2 drivers that are trying to create change to happen. And from there we then kind of look at what the resistances are. So why is something just not better? Because it would be better if there wasn't something holding it back. And I suppose, again, as I paused there and I just kind of felt back in, what popped up again was that I didn't want to be disruptive. I didn't want to kind of be dictatorial, if that's the word. To kind of force my opinion on the room. I mean, who says I'm right? So that was kind of my resistance, is that who am I to say you're all getting it wrong and I've got a better way of doing it. So then the 4th pillar question is, what do you need? So as I kind of coach myself in this moment, and I didn't come on to coach myself, this is again just happening by being present and being in the moment. But I could sense that something wanted to happen, so I thought I'm going to see if I can catch this on video and then I'll decide whether I post it or not. So what do I need? What do I need? To be patient? Been patient for years. I'm tired of being patient. And I feel that emotionally, that's... To be gentle. The next thing that kind of pops up is to be understanding. But I am understanding. I get it's hard to change. Taking me years, kind of 14 years of my own kind of struggle with all of this stuff to get to not the other side of it, but to make some movement, to see a different way. And so I generally am kind of compassionate, and I suppose that's probably why I got up and left. What do I need? To be stronger? To have spoken up in the room? To have honoured my truth of what was moving for me in the room in the moment? Yeah, probably. To be courageous to do that? Yeah, that kind of resonates. Because I suppose I was also in my head as I struggled to stay in the room and got caught in all the judgments. It's, we shouldn't be doing it this way, we should be doing it that way, and this whole energetic thing of me struggling to be in acceptance of what was. Yeah, so again, as I got still there, the pop-up came in the sense of even maybe to have paused the space. I've kind of done that before and just actually said, look, could we just stop for a minute? Could we just stop for a minute? Because my true present moment experience is that I'm going to explode here. And then express my truth. There's loads of people in the room that I'd like to hear their voice. And my projection is that they're not getting a chance to get their voice in. Not because what's being said by those that are vocal isn't valuable, but there's something unwhole about the space, there's something imbalanced about the space that it's just those, for me it seemed like it's just those that were in their head that were caught up in the dialogue at that level, that it was just like the ping-pong. And that there was something more could have been gained from the meeting by stilling ourselves down a bit, by including these other voices. Yeah. Because a lot of these meetings, the kind of primary essence of coming together and what's being called for is for change. And for something out of the box and something different, for leadership. But we're so conditioned into functioning and the way we have become conditioned, and accountability to bosses and council and such like, to be able to show outcome and results and all the rest of it. We get forced to being heady. We get forced to be heady in schools. That is changing a wee bit. But yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky, and it's quite a battle. It's the darkness that we're up against as we try to evolve to functioning. It's not even at a higher level, it's just at a truer level. It's not about being better or cleverer, it's kind of more about just being real. Being able to be real by being present to what's moving in the present moment. So maybe I've said enough, maybe I've got enough out of me to go and get changed and just go and do some work in the garden. So hopefully I've done something productive with this rather than go away outside and have this internal rabble going on in my head, which maybe I'll still do anyway. But I can feel myself getting quite emotional. It's tricky when you know there's a better way and a different way. Better way, yeah, I'm going to stand on that. It's a better way. To hell with it. It's a more productive way. It's a more honest way. It's a more genuine way. It's a purer way. It's a way that honours ourselves and honours the other. It's a more connected way. Because this whole thing we do in our head is mostly a coping mechanism from not feeling, not sensing, not being willing to stay still and feel, because it's difficult. And it's easier to just be in our head and, again, fly about like a ping-pong ball. Thank you.